Welcome back. The exodus continues apace. Ever since Labour came in 16 months ago, more and more people have been leaving the country. Last year, extraordinary figures. 257,000 emigrated, left the country to live abroad. More than 250,000. This is, of course, because of punishing taxes, just a feeling that the country's falling apart at the seams. The attractiveness of places like Dubai and Milan, which have much better tax rates. It's just a disaster, you know, the migration crisis, just the feeling that there's something wrong with Great Britain. They're all leaving. Let's talk to political commentator Benedict Spence. Benedict, I mean, there have been attempts by the Labour movement to suggest that reports of the exodus of more and more people leaving the country have been somewhat exaggerated. That's not true. 257,000 people emigrating last year. That's an extraordinarily high number.
It is, and it reflects actually what a lot of people have felt anecdotally for a very long time. I mean, I'll take my personal circumstances as an example. So my immediate sort of friend group from school, group of lads that I've, known from about knee height, there's about 11 of us. One of them now lives in the United States, in Seattle. One of them lives in Dubai. One of them lives in Switzerland. One of them lives in Australia. Another one is on the cusp of moving to France. If you repeat this sort of pattern, sort of across the entirety of the country, so this is one group and that's about half of the people have already gone. And to be clear, others would probably have left if they didn't have sort of closer ties at home. If you repeat that pattern across the country, you're going to see, as you've just sort of alluded to, hundreds of thousands of people leaving. Initially, of course, it was high net worth individuals who were leaving because they feared Labour's tax regime, the millionaires, all that sort of thing. They saw the writing on the wall and they left. But increasingly, it's not those people. It's not the super rich. It is the sort of the aspirational, upcoming middle classes. It's people who want to start businesses, want to get on in life, they want to have families, but feel they're not able to under the current set of circumstances. And when you bear in mind that the tax burden in this country is increasingly falling on those people, and there's only 9 million people, I'll say that again, 9 million net tax contributors in this country. Well, when it's a matter of 250,000 leaving a year, that's deeply concerning.
Can I just say that I'm very much an active member of those 9 million taxpayers. My tax bill is a national disgrace, if you ask me. But seriously, I mean, making jokes about myself, but if I could, I'd be out of here because the taxes I have to pay are just extraordinary. And also, just this whole pervasive atmosphere of this country at the moment. Next week or the week after, we get the budget, which is going to sort of be like a great big boot stamping on the entire country, killing growth, killing aspiration, killing optimism, to be honest with you. So, as you say, in the past, the stories have been, we're losing a millionaire every 45 minutes. The millionaires, the rich wealth makers, they're all leaving. Well, that's true. But as you quite rightly say, that has now spread to anybody or to many people who aren't millionaires. They just don't want to pay punitive taxes. They want to live in an optimistic atmosphere. They don't want to live in a country where there's no growth. They want to live in a country where there's opportunities. And all of this under Labour, all of these aspects of what should be a healthy society are just not happening.
The thing is, of course, you've also got to think, where are the opportunities? So us being in the UK, obviously the Anglosphere, we all speak English. A lot of our qualifications are easily transferable to places like the United States. We all know, of course, about the phenomenon of doctors and nurses moving to Canada and to Australia and to New Zealand as well. But increasingly, you mentioned Dubai. There are lots of people moving to the Gulf, and not just Dubai, other Gulf states have followed suit. A lot of them are opening up, a lot of them are liberalizing. It's a lot easier to live in places like Qatar or Kuwait than it was a few years ago, but also increasingly in Europe. Places like the Mediterranean, Portugal, Italy, Spain, Malta, Greece, All of these countries have very good tax arrangement for retirees, but also for young digital nomads, for sort of mobile individuals who can work online, very agreeable tax arrangements and visa arrangements, because they can see what's happening in the UK and they think, well, let's offer, you cited Milan as an example. That's very much people moving from the for the financial sector. But in the south of Italy or Greece, for instance, lots of those islands in Greece are thinking, well, we don't have a lot of people living here in the sort of the off season, in the non-peak season. Let's make it very agreeable tax-wise for young digital nomads from the UK and places like that to come and live here and pay almost no tax. Excuse me, a flat rate of about 15% for the first 6 that you live there. Well, when you bear in mind that there are some people paying that marginal rate of 40+% in the UK, it's a bit of a no-brainer that lots of people would move there. And we go back to it again, there's no route out of this. All that we see from Labour is the prospect of the taxes going up and up and up, increasing over time. And that burden of people that it falls on, 9 million people, that's a tiny fraction of the 70-odd million that actually live here. And when you consider that half of people in the UK don't pay any real tax at all, it's not surprising that those people who are thinking, look, we've been told multiculturalism, internationalism, open borders, that's just part of the course. Well, why don't we take that for ourselves? Why don't we go elsewhere and let those people rot here and actually inherit the system that they've come to take from?
Absolutely, and the budget, Rachel from Accounts' budget is on November the 26th. It's expected to be a killer, the budget from hell, her second budget from hell. We can expect, I would imagine, Benedict, that the rate of people emigrating, getting the hell out of Dodge, out of this country, will accelerate.
You'd imagine so, and then of course you've had the trailing of the idea of the outgoing tax, the exit tax, the idea that your assets might actually be taxed if you decide to have the gall to leave the country.
So they make us all prisoners in the country. They make us prisoners.
There's no better way of saying to young aspirational people, oh, things are going to go badly, as if you've got Rachel Reeves, the only person on the border are going to be tax collectors. No actual border force, it's just tax collectors going, please, can you give us some money as you leave, rather than stopping people in. That's ultimately, I think, what a lot of people see. Now, when you've got the prospect of potentially reform coming in a few years, this isn't going to be permanent, I don't think. A lot of people are looking as a short-term thing, and as I say, those European systems where it's sort of 4, 5, 6 years, that's not leaving forever. That's a sort of a temporary thing. But they will be doing that with one eye on the prospect of another government coming in a few years and reversing that. But you don't want to take that chance. You don't want to push those people away in the first place, because there's every chance that they won't come back. And ultimately, there's, as much as we're all sort of sitting here assuming it's a fait accompli, that reform will come in and that they'll form a government at some point, never say never in this country.
Absolutely not. Benedict, really good to have your company as always. Benedict Spence there, political commentator. Everybody leaving the Exodus.